Good to see everybody here. Today is Friday, October 17th, and I want to welcome everybody and thank them for joining me, your friendly moderator, Cameron, on this Friday Dojo. It's been a very busy week. I don't know how my tone just sounded as I said that. It's been exciting, stressful, funny, and I've been a little bit out of the conversations that might be happening in James's tribe around a lot of these events. I monitor what's happening on YouTube, and I monitor what's going on the Patreon platform, and it's a lot of things that just as an example, just a couple of little factoids that really don't have anything to do with anything, I guess. But I have a son named Ira who goes to Reagan Elementary, and and uh, we wrestle real wrestling, and the one who taught me wore a Star of David around his neck,
Hmm.
even though he was raised Pentecostal. It's so it's all the stuff hits very close to home, and I say that as a friend and who feels a lot of warmth for the people here, and just glad to see everybody. I don't see any hands raised currently, but if anybody would like to speak at any time, I just um, there I do in the course of taking notes over this week, I have a few things I could bring up, just as far as trying to balance out whether things aren't broken or we're losing this war. Uh, you know, um, um, it becomes interesting with things like this. I may have told you guys before that my father and I, although estranged for most of our lives, started talking again over these last 5 or 6 years. I give James a lot of credit for that, for helping me become sympathetic to the utility of atheism. First of all, that was one of the first things he did, just talking about the need to have privacy from God. My both of my parents are very politically minded, or they were whenever they had the sense enough to be anything, and on opposite sides of the line. And so my father was someone who, again, in 2016, I went to visit his mother for the first time in 25 years, and he was about 20 minutes away from her, but he was busy protesting Trump. And this morning, for example, we were talking about there was some headline about the Bank of England's pill, something, and I was like, did they misspell that, Bill? Um, and he's like, no, that's pill, this guy. And I joked about no matter how many times I learn that the Bank of England and the cunningly named Federal Reserve aren't our government, they're private debtors that we borrow money from, that it always still ends up being a blind spot. He said, everything's a blind spot to me. And I responded, I thought you saw a Christian nationalist group looming from miles away, uh, because he's been terrified of a Christian nationalist movement since, I mean, really since Trump, went down the escalator. So he said he was blind, and I asked him, I thought you could see, but I don't know if I believe that he could see. I looked around and I didn't see a nationalist group. And over the course of my time here, I've met people who I didn't actually believe existed, and that's just because of where I live. I'm from the last land that anybody wanted here in the middle of Oklahoma. It's not really the South. Maybe it's the ass of the Midwest or something. I don't know, but that's so I wasn't familiar with a lot of those ways of being. My I'm drifting from the point. I did come from a white flight town, as it was told, but as was told to me by my 10th grade principal, because I implemented crosstown busing here. My grandfather, who although took government money to get his first plot of land in the city, uh, he did that happily. And I love my grandfather. He's my saint, my papa. But when it came time to do crosstown busing, he had four younger daughters and thought it better to go across the river and go to a smaller school. That wasn't something I knew, and I don't know what he thought he saw. But when I look, and again, when Antifa was coming up, I was thinking, these are just government color revolutions, and and the few people join, and maybe they even get day rates as extras. They're getting recruited to these things on. I can't think of the sites anymore. But I look around and I still don't see a Christian nationalist movement, even though I've got people who really do twist their nipples. Sorry for lack of a better term, especially given the people I'm referring to, because they've really gotten into this Christian identity, and I see them like I do see that. I just don't see an organized nationalist movement with any banner.
Hmm.
And I feel like I've taken the floor here with a lot of. I'm not presenting any answers, or even I don't even. I'm not even presenting
I love
political.
this. I think you should keep going. And I grew up in the South, and I feel like that I did not see the Christian nationalist movement coming only because I felt that the South was always being exaggerated as being overly racist when where I grew up, I actually was in an integrated that choir I've talked about that I traveled all over the world. That was like I've never been so integrated in other races in my life. It was actually the goal of the choir director was that he wanted all of us to be living in the most diverse population possible. That was actually, I think, more of his goal than the choir itself was. So I think I was raised in a special chamber that gave me an ignorance of what was around me because I just didn't feel that way. I just it just wasn't happening. It was there were guys that I didn't like, but it was like more equal. It's like, well, I don't like that guy, and I don't like that guy. It was just more about their behavior or something like that. It was rarely about necessarily race, but also like your papa or pappy. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but my stepfather, who I've just endeared, he's like the kindest. He's kinder than I've ever been, and I think that he would fit underneath that R category and that category is different in his error because it wasn't really based on anger. I think it was based on genre, it was based on soil, it was based on where you lived and what you could afford to even think about. The propaganda back then, probably the word propaganda wasn't even a word back then. So all you have is just information. And the information, if it's coming to you, it would just have to be true. So Jim Crow laws, technically, this is the government being prejudiced. But for some reason, the government creating Jim Crow laws is it's because the South is so racist that we're going to be racist, and that the South had an opportunity to taste that first because of the scapegoat nature of how it was treated by the rest of the nation. So in a way, think about it this way: in a way, the nation had more faith in the South, like collectively, the consciousness, the root, the plant that is humans, had more faith in the South than any other area because it felt this is the place where I need to grow heritage first. I need to grow sovereignty here first because everyone else is going to attack it. And these are the only people that could deal with that. This would be the one place where I would be able to pull this off, so to speak. Kind of the same with the great out west, just moving west. You have a filter of consciousness of people that want more. Manifest destiny is a filtering process where you figure out who wants more. Because if you're striving for more, you're going to create a whole new politic because you went all the way out to California. And not only that, you were expecting to get gold and it's not fucking there. Now you're pissed. Now you're epigenetically revved up to succeed even more. And then maybe you end up with California. So the texture itself is going to dictate the psyche. And the texture, I'm sorry, the terrain itself is going to dictate the psyche. Therefore, the terrain itself is also going to pick where it's going to put its strongest roots. And the strongest roots are going to be the ones that are going to have so much pressure from the rest of the tree on top of it that you're going to only be able to grow if you find the right roots that are willing to take it, that have exactly the right amount of ignorance about what's coming to take it. Because ultimately, I think this is where we get most of our longevity is through our ignorance of just just not knowing how hard this is going to be is like your greatest weapon sometimes. Probably more times than we think, you know. So if you look at it collectively as a country, we're doing great. In a way, we're like, we're ready to look at this Christian nationalism thing now. This is the perfect opportunity because Trump has this cabinet that's just so see through. In a way, it's a layup. Do you see what I mean? In a way, this is like a layup for us. And I don't think we'll make it. I think we're like a 7-year-old. Like it looks like an easy layup, but we don't know we're a 7-year-old yet. We're just not there yet. We can't understand that, which is why we have a lot less patience with ourselves, which is why we make more government. We want to grow so fast that we're going to squeeze it out of us. We're going to break laws. We're going to kill people to get there because probably because of the shame of what it's like to have a psyche where you're saying one thing, but then you're completely doing another thing altogether. You know, the most bravest in the military have to be told what to wear. They have to lay their underwear out like underoos. Has to be distributed from a factory. It has to have their name on it. It has to have the day of the week on it. They have to make their bed. And someone has to come check their bed and give them a star. That's that's not like sovereign. That's not that's not the American man. Like if you really strip that down, that's just a child that's been given guns. And just go on, man. What do you want to do? And you watched what happened when Pete Hegseth. Don't you guys, do you know how many generals are in that room? Think about the psyche of that. What if one general would have stood up? Like, holy fuck. Now, if you think about how exciting that is, I hope you can agree. That would be exciting as fuck. And you can imagine that at least one of those generals is like, what if I stood up? There has to have been at least one. And if at least one would have thought, what if I stood up? He would have done the math and he would have said, this whole fucking place would be over if I stood up. He would know that. I'm on the 7th row. I'm the 23rd person back. And if I fucking get up right now and leave, the entire world is going to know who I am. The entire world is going to want to suck some sort of appendage on my body to thank me. I'm going to go on a book tour. I'm going to be invited to every state dinner you could possibly imagine in the world except for Trump. And that would feel good to them. And now I want you to put yourself in that psyche. You're the most powerful man in the army. You're a 4-star, you're a 5-star general. And you still don't move. Nobody moved. And we're giving them all the credit. Look how mean and cold they were to Hegseth by not cheering. And it's like, we are just making excuses. No, my kid is not the fat kid. He's a good soccer player. He's just confused. And if you would make the rules better, he would not be scoring on his own goal. My mom said this about me once, but it's like, this is how we treat our military because we've been told, thank you for your fucking service. Thank you. Oh, did you just blow up a fishing boat in Venezuela? Way to fucking go. I'm sure that was the boat that was going to kill us all. The press secretary just said that President Trump saved 258 million American lives today because he stopped this one thing, and he was referring to fentanyl. And it's like there's not even that many people here, and no one checks that. It's the This is the fucking press secretary, and no one checks her. No one's like, what do you think the population of America is? No one. And if you look at the fentanyl use, it's like 60,000 cases of fentanyl every year where someone's overdosing, yet somehow she's able to save 258 million people today. And it's the same thing. This is what we want. This is not because we're stupid. It's not because we're retarded. It's not because we're evil. It's because we have purposely embraced ignorance because we know the intuitive spirit is going to guide us better. And the intuitive spirit is going to be kind of like watching a room full of kindergartners. This is why I say I don't think they control everything. You may say that a kindergarten teacher controls the entire room, but she really doesn't know that the next fight's going to be over My Little Pony. She really doesn't know that. She really doesn't know what is it going to be that it's Billy peed on someone else's leg. It's so out of she couldn't have factored that in. She's going to try and factor in next time. She's going to chase that. But ultimately, she's the leader, which means she's the leash attached to the dog. The dog itself is the one who's running the show. And we're just not really ready to accept that because it's so profitable to be able to blame someone, to be able to say it's your fault. The same way I would blame a kindergarten teacher. If my kid came home and was crying and I put him in the care of a fucking stranger, and the only thing I let allow me to do that was some credential from a state agency run by a pedophile, and I find out my kid gets hurt, I'm gonna want to be fucking mad at someone. Right? I'm gonna be really mad because I just did that and I just found out what happened. So I'm gonna come in and say someone should do something. Unless I have faith in the entire process. And I don't know if that's possible as a parent. I can't even fathom it. I can picture it with my dog. I could picture the time where I've been like, that person's not watching my dog. This is gonna hurt. I'm not gonna be able to go on this trip, but that person's not watching my, like that's as close as I can get. So I would imagine it's like that times a trillion. Like it's not even probably even a factor, right? It's probably even different. So I know that having faith in that is wrong, is impossible. But I think ultimately when you have faith in your kid, you're not able to do anything else. You're just like, he's gonna fucking put that fork in the, no, don't put the fork in there. No, and then you're gonna intervene. You have to intervene. What, you gonna fucking live the rest of your life thinking, all right? So you're picking your battles every day. You're just like, oh God, he's climbing the tree again. He is so clumsy. What do I do? Right? I'm gonna put some grass down. And you already did that. Now you're slowly learning. Oh, I put grass down. Let's see. Oh, he's gonna fall. Yep, he fell. He's pissed. Day's ruined. But I let him do it. You gave him luxury. You gave him atheism, didn't you? You gave him atheism. Do you see what I mean? And that atheism allowed him to grow. That's all I got for now.
James. Hey, Mary Jo. Great to see you today. See your hands up. What's up?
So, I know that all of us talk about, or a lot of us talk about our moms and stuff like that, but the mother archetype is a strong pull. And I've always thought that if I'm like, why don't you want, like, look at this world for your children? Like, and it's just, I'll give you an example. Before I was totally like online with what's happening in the world, and my son was 2 years old. I like really was, I had this feeling like this is my son. Like, but, and I thought, and I had the idea, so I respect everybody's way they feel about their children. Like, it must be huge. So, for a second birthday party, I sent out invitations to world leaders because I thought, what if they send something back that'll be a fun keepsake? And I got one from, I got replies from, now this is before I knew there was a pedophile thing, okay? So I sent invitations to a second birthday party and I got replies from the Queen, Netanyahu, uh, Angela Merkel, Sarkozy. I got a letter from Arnold Schwarzenegger, and there's one more, but I didn't get one from Barack Obama, and I was kind of disappointed at the time. And I can share these on chat. I'll show you. But like, I think that is the power of a mom saying, "Look at my son," you know? You know what I mean? Like, and now I'm like, well, that was kind of gross because I was inviting energy from these gross people. But I consider them relics from the old world because now is a different world. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Interesting that I mean, given everything we talk about, I understand why you're talking about the energy you might have invited in with those cards, but really, what a strong gesture to lift your child up to be seen, and he can
I
always
know,
look back
right?
and find those. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very amazing, Mary Jo. Very creative.
It reminds me of that I doubt maybe all of you saw it because it was a really short clip, but I was flipping out over this clip one day of this dude runs into this ancient Catholic church in Spain or something. And in the middle of the service, he's running with his kid above his head and he's running past all these people and they're all like, what are you doing? And he runs up to the altar. He just chucks his kid. He like chucks his kid onto the holy altar. And the kid like crashes and flowers and stuff. And of course, people are beating the shit out of him. But the whole time, like, this guy loves his kid. Like, this is ultimate love. This kid is never gonna forget this. This kid is gonna spend the rest of his life feeling divinely touched because this sacrifice. And meanwhile, his dad's just getting his fucking ass kicked in the middle of church, probably just going, I love you, son. I love you. It was so beautiful. It's so beautiful. This is why we have trust in this system. It's why we write letters to pedophiles. It's exactly, we're symbiotic. We're symbiotic. There's not a damn thing you can do about it except for invite Netanyahu to your birthday party. It really does claim that power back over the world if you think about it. It's kind of beautiful. And it's smarter than throwing your kid. I mean, you know, it's pretty still. I want to know what that kid is right now. Like, what's he thinking?
Great idea, Mary Jo. That was a hilarious clip, James. I'm glad you brought that back up. I'm going to find that again. Um, hey, Sarah. See your hands up. How you doing today? Go right ahead whenever you're ready.
Uh, Hi, yes. Am I on? I can't tell. So talking about grandfathers and sending invitations to whoever they are, officials, renowned people. So my grandfather was really important in my life. I think I don't know if I would have survived my family without my grandparents being close. He had a one-man ad agency. He wrote copy for, I guess, newspapers and things back in whenever back then was. And he also did art. He did these interesting paintings where he would use model paint and he would paint on often just a piece of cardboard, masonite, and just pour the paint on and then let it drip in one way and then turn it so it would drip in another way. And this was his abstract art period. He did some other things also. And he sent mail art. He he would send me mail art and he sent little paintings to all of these officials, whether the president or I don't actors, actresses, whoever he just wanted to send things to. And they would be like, these were some of his little mail art paintings. And this one, he lived in Philadelphia, and so did I, and he sent me this. I lived in Philadelphia, but he sent it to me. It was his for Passover. It says, Happy Passover, Princess, because he called me Princess. So he would send these all over to people, and he had a loose leaf binder this thick of responses of letters back from all of these people that he sent his art to. So yeah, I like those memories. So talking about grandpa, pop my pop. And I used to through my 20s until I left the States for a while. I lived in in Philadelphia Center, and I would meet him for lunch. And even when I was in my 20s, we would go to cross the street, and he would still habitually go to hold my hand crossing the street. Like I was a little like 5-year-old girl. It was so cute. I loved him so much. So yeah, that was my grandfather, and mailing out and getting responses connection to the conversation.
Perhaps too nostalgic of me to hear your account, Sarah, and Mary Jo's account of sending these letters out. I I think about how these figures were just, I mean, institutions, and and they're still around today. I mean, all of these offices still need to be filled, and but it makes me think about if I could just drag it back into. I wrote a dear friend recently about how I thought ICE was an example of an ever more militarized domestic government. But I think James today really pointed at something that was astute, and that is that, I mean, really, I mean, if there was a big leap to militarizing domestic government, it was the DARE program. In fact, immediately after I heard myself say that to this person, I thought, ICE isn't an example of a more militarized domestic government. It's an example of how low budget this thing has become, where we're using rent-a-cars and people who can't be badged or can't be identified. So it's basically like it's a scene that nobody can do a crime, can do forensics on afterwards because there's no paperwork, there's no paper trail or anything. It's just, and is that because it's so cunning? Is that cunningness, or is it just a lack of budget that creates these circumstances to where, I mean,
It's a great question because you there's an intelligence that comes from your ignorance that I don't know if you notice how much more I focus on that, but I focus more on that. And then there's a conscious intelligence that you're using your neocortex to justify what you're doing. And that the conscious justified intelligence typically doesn't understand. It's typically the only way that you can ignore the intuitive wisdom below is by insisting that it's up here, that this is a neocortex decision that we've decided on. This is why I shit on logic so much. Because I think ultimately you're just missing out on what's really happening. The urge is your intelligence, even if it's horrid, even if it's completely violates someone else's rights. That urge is your intelligence. And you do not know where it's coming from, nor do you understand why it's therapeutic. And you are not really willing to go through with it. It sounds a lot like when you realize you have to throw up and you have this decision, you know what I mean? Where you're like, are we going to do this? And you're sort of like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And then there's this creeping that's like, yeah, but if you did it, you'd feel better. And you're like, I don't know about that. I could die. Or you start, and you're like, I'll be fine or whatever. And then you finally decide you're worth it. You finally have a sense of self-worth and you're just like, I'm going to do this. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then you sit down. I only throw up outside now, but like, you sit in front of the toilet and then you're just like, this is going to happen now. This is what's going to happen. And ultimately you're sticking your head in a gross place. You're doing something horrible to yourself. There's an intuitive intelligence at work. And the thing that's stopping you is your conscious awareness of it. This is the thing that's stopping you. Let's take something horrible like rape. Someone who wants to remove someone's power by stripping their uniform off, and like let's say that definition of it is a medicine that person's trying to enact that is socially unallowed, socially horrid, but is probably medicine. There's if I'm saying if, and I don't think you should all do this. This is what's called being generous. If you could afford to be raped by that person, what would happen next? Here's what I mean. A rape victim really denies the medicine. If here's maybe this is a cleaner example because I'm sorry it's such a dilating example to talk about, a salacious example, but if someone is yelling at you and you just let them, not like in I ignore you, but you're just like, just get it out, buddy. You've done this before. So you're authorizing a moral trespass against you. You're authorizing an energetic cannibalism of you or whatever else it is. And that gives you enough juice that you're standing in it and you actually kind of feel good. You start to feel this is helping this person. This is like legit helping this person. Ultimately, that's a medicine that's trying to come out, and you were simply willing to allow it. It would be no different than if your child's like, I have to throw up, and you're like, don't you throw up, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And that's not gonna work. Like it's really not an option. And that adults have that. We just our neocortex can't face that. So we say things like, I would never do that. And then we do it. It's so ubiquitous. We're always doing it all the time. So we need a government. We need some kind of scapegoat, some kind of pharmacos, Cameron, right? Some kind of how do I instrument this? And I would instrument this because I am afraid of the world. Like it's so easy to tap into white nationalism, Christian nationalism. It's so easy. I'm afraid of losing a certain way of life that I've had a romantic relationship for. And I'm carrying the romantic relationship of people that are dead now that are living inside of me. I have a ghost of romanticism inside of me for white nationalism. Like that would be a natural thing. If you've come to the world and done well, you're going to be like, this is pretty fucking great. That's nationalism. Well, I'm not saying the word, but you're doing the same thing. You're perpetuating the patriarchy of you. And why would you not? You want to keep what you have. I did all this gardening. Why would I want to lose it? These are good roots, you say. And the fact that you're calling it good roots, I think it's growth. Ultimately, that's growth. And ultimately, we're going to need, see, we need Pied Pipers too, guys. We need to know who we're going to have sex with and allow to reproduce. We need to see their behavior. We need to know where those people are. Because honestly, it's the women that are kinging them all. It's the women that are like, I think you should live forever. And you give them that power. And the men are just like, fuck, man, I must be good. I fucking scored. And this is why so much Christian nationalism really does. If you can just get a woman pregnant, you win. Have you noticed that this is basically like low level scoring in Christian nationalism? Is if you can just get a woman pregnant, dude, you fucking won. And you've won because at that root, at that mulad hara, at that heritage ray, you must be good because you've been able to reproduce. And you want this vibration. Like you would have to have this sense of self-worth. We still don't have a culture that has self-worth. We're just switched from humble to power, if you believe that we've switched from worshiping what's humble to worshiping what's powerful. Germany tried to do this, and the rest of the world said no. Like Germany really did try and do this. We're still learning how to hate the Jews. As I said yesterday, I know it's very problematic, but why the fuck don't you hate a Jew? Like I'm just serious. It's just like, why would you not hate what Israel's doing? Like, why is that better? That you don't have hate in your heart? That's not better. That's just you're better at lying to yourself. It's very difficult to look at what the Benjamites are doing and say, oh, I'm fine with that. Like that takes a really fucked up personality that I don't think any of you women should have sex with that person. Like, don't do it. Do not let that person do that. But no, you're just like, oh, he's so great. I'm being silly here, but it's just like, I don't see world leaders going out saying, I'm going to have sex with you. You're literally rewarding every single limbic center that person has. I'm sorry, I'm dumping right now, but it's just like, in my mind, this is what trains more than anything else. What is the limbic reward of doing this thing? And at the pinnacle, you think it's the medal of freedom? I don't think it is. I think it's what happens when you walk into a bar and you have a medal of freedom. That's what makes the medal of freedom powerful. That's what does it, right? So this is why all the responsibility is us, but also there's really not shame there because if you just look at what we're doing, man, we are growing. We're getting shit done. Gavin Newsom is pushing for states' rights. Like my head is still fucking exploding over that. He just passed a law that says if you're wearing a fucking mask on the street and you're working for the government, we're going to arrest you. What the fuck did you just say? And I've learned enough to where I'm not like, oh, let's go vote for Gavin Newsom. But I used to be. I was that way with Trump. I wasn't in the voting then, but I was really happy to see Trump precisely because of this same state, guys. I remember being happy to see Trump. I remember telling my dad, Dad, you misunderstand me. I don't think the guy's here to fix anything. I'm really happy he's there because I'm just going to watch the place burn. And I'm just hoping more people are going to bring some marshmallows because I think that would be good right now. Like that would make a lot of sense. I don't think my dad had really ever considered that idea until I gave it to him. Like when I have to remind him, I have to remind a neighbor down the street here because he thinks I must be a Republican because I didn't like whoever the Democrat was then. In his mind, he just can't see. He just can't see a third option. The same way a racist just can't look, I can't afford to compassionate all these people. I can only radar through those white guys. See those white guys? I can radar them. That black guy, I can't fucking radar that. His melanin's too thick. Too many melanocytes. I got no idea what's going on there. So I'm not going to do it. And it's kind of a soft racism because I don't have the calories for it. It's just soft. Same way you'd let a big bird bully you on the bird feeder. You're just like, I don't fucking care. I just don't have the energy to stop it. He's fine. He can have it. I'll get in there eventually. This is what savage meant. Savage, in my opinion, meant lack of pride, lack of heritage, lack of long-standing revenge violence. There was no consciousness for it. So controlling a population back then was a lot easier because there weren't a lot of people feeling that, hey, we're being controlled or I need to retribution for that. You just wipe it off your shoulder. It'll be gone in 3, 2, 1. Oh, your phonological loop just expired. Who were you mad at? Nobody. This is most of our history, I think. And you see that now. You see that today. We, we, that's why I'm mad at Theo Vaughn. We're just like, oh, he didn't know. And I'm just like, I can't believe his fucking dad was an immigrant. And that's why I have to stop because I'm not equipped to properly compassionate people because I'm just like, how can you be there? How can this is why I tell you guys this because I think I really suck at this. I do not understand the populace. This has got to be why a big part of where my numbers are. I cannot understand people because of where my vista. It's just where it is. And it's fine. I'm racist. Cameron, I can't see black people in this sense. You know what I mean? Like I can't see that. I can't see a different consciousness around me that's just so foreign to me. I'm just like, I'm gonna stop hating them. That's all I've been able to do is say, I don't hate them. I cannot understand them, but I have faith in the garden. This is the closest I've come. And I think if I could see them, I think my numbers would go up. I think the show would be maybe more wide reaching. And I think I might be able to pollinate the world more. So it's like, I wish I could do that. But when I get up and it's the middle of the night and I'm watching comments come in and it's a dude that he just doesn't fucking understand like at all. Like the globalist thing. Like it really hit me like a ton of bricks that he really just thinks, look, you're either a globalist or you're not. And if you're a globalist, you're gonna want no borders at all anywhere. And I don't even know globalists who feel that way. But this is why Alex Jones does so well. He knows how to tell the stories. He knows how to bring that fairy tale in, and every kid listens. So many of the kids listen, I should say. Most of the kids listen. So to me, he's more natural than I am. He's more prolific than I am, which means the turtle wanted more of this. The turtle wanted Alex Jones to have sex with women. The turtle wanted there to be more Alex Joneses everywhere. Like the same way with Trump, the same way with it's so who the fuck am I to say that's wrong? I'm probably finished, like in a good way. In a way, I like to think that Turtle Island's like, look, there's not really more to do with James. He's, you know, he's he's all right. I'm not gonna put him on a salad, but he's okay. I don't mind him in the garden. He's especially now he's not yelling at so many flowers so much. So you even look at who gets the attention, who's the squeaky wheel. It's not necessarily the best student, right? It's the one that's gonna be the most effective to change or to play with or to do things like that. And this is part of that symbiosis that you need. Because I was just battling with am I special growing up? Just growing up, it was like, am I special? Is that why people don't get me? It was the only thing I could cling to. Like, well, maybe it's because I'm special. It was the only thing that kept me through that was just clinging to that rumor. Maybe that's it. And in a way you would have to be to live the style of life I did because I don't think most people would have been able to make it through. I just think it requires a certain kind of consciousness, which is why I was able to find it that way. Not that it's better, it's just tricky if you're I was going to say a flower, but I can't think of its name right now. I don't know myself yet. I don't think a lot of us know ourselves yet. And all the intelligence is there. The world's going to get really shitty when all of us know ourselves, because it's going to take so much more for drama to come out. It's going to take someone like Trump. Imagine if it took Trump to pull this out now. Imagine how much more Trump you're going to have to be in 30 years to solicit growth. Imagine how much more terrible it's going to be, not just taking orange sellers from the side of the street. The next wave is going to have to be something more. The next vaccine, the next body autonomy attack, the next, all these things would have to be more in order to spur growth. That's why they are coming for you. That's why your body, the autonomy of your body, habeas corpus. I think I've never seen a more clear roadmap when you look at the attack on habeas corpus right now. Like, this is the finishing. Nature is finishing you. It's like, are you sure you're ready for self? And it's like putting fire on you to see if you can, are you flame retardant, or are you gonna just squeeze out and run away and turn to ash? It's so, yeah, this is how vitriol works. It sucks sometimes. And I think the only way you're going to be able to do better is to trust the system. You got to trust the process. And I have severe trust issues. This world has broken my trust more times than I can count. And I'm still asked to trust it. And in my mind, this would be the only thing that would be, this is the key to life. Like, why does life keep growing? It would look like this. It would be because it does anyway. I know I can't trust you. I know I can't trust you. I know I can't trust you. I know I can't trust you, but I still trust the system somehow. That's obnoxiously difficult sometimes. Mary's got her hand up. So stop.
Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
When I used to think, well, I still kind of think this, talking about habeas corpus, I used to think like the metal injection was like a rape. I'm like, why don't people see it that way? You know, like no, I don't want that. And when I was going through the health ordeal last year, I kept thinking, oh, just if they ask me if I want that, like I just can't wait to tell them no. And that didn't happen. Nobody tried to give me any vaccines during that whole ordeal because I was so ready to say no. It's like, no, I don't need that, you know? Um, and I don't know. It's like, so if you can see it that way, like absolutely I don't need that or believe in that whole thing, like that's all bullshit, then and your belief is that and it's really strong, you probably aren't going to encounter a conflict about it, if you see what I mean. I don't know.
It's I also feel the same. I think I feel the same way you do, Mary Jo, about the main reason I stopped against the mask because I had already been revved up about the dangers of inoculation. I looked around and saw a lot of issues I thought along the public, and I wanted to steer clear of those things for my own family, which went hard against the grain against my mother, who was very uh, again she I'll just say, even though I chose that with my children, and I think I've already mentioned to you guys that the community around here actually proved a lot to me in letting my kids go to school. You have to get through the scary medical exemption part where you have to, every single inoculation, you have to have a reason and a doctor's note for every single one. You look past that, and then there's a religious exemption, which I'm not part of any religious group. Then you look past that, and there's the philosophical exemption, and that's the one I was able to do, and everybody has respected that. I have a lot of very strong convictions, and yet I judge my parents for how my mom made sure that I would never like Michael Dukakis, and that I would like President Bush, and she made sure that I knew how stupid Sigmund Freud was, and how cool like I don't tell my kids anything about anything, and maybe that's foolish. Maybe it's a real weak spot. I try to stay up on what 6-7 means and stuff like that. I don't really tell them what's going on in my world, or I don't talk. We don't talk about the president, or and I know my mom, as foolish as she thinks, sometimes I feel guilty that maybe I had a lot to do with her mental state, in choosing some of the paths I chose. And in 2020, frankly, that was one of the first times I found real gratitude for the way she raised me, because I thought that she engendered a sensitivity to psychological abuse in the course of my upbringing, and that's what 2020 felt like. And so I don't feel like if I would have had the gumption to stand firm in that moment, had I not uh, had to stand firm and take the piss so many times before. Because that's really what it took this time. Again, we talked about it before. It took a lot of sanctimony, being judged as sanctimonious
Yeah.
and not caring and neglectful. I had to deal with that from all family and friends.
Yeah, and
And
this is why it's only worthy for those who are willing to step through the VIP tent. Same thing when a cop's saying, "Hey, you can't film here." You have to like that's the first thing they're going to say. You can't film me. They're not going to say, "Hey, I understand your rights," and they're not going to say that. They're just going to say, "You can't film here." They're waiting for you to prove that you have the muster for it. They're going to make you prove that every time, and it should never be different, guys. I wanted to say this today, but it should never be different. Taxes are such a perfect moral test because they're placed on you and everyone else is around you doing it. It's one of the few kind of liberties where you actually have to physically endure harm to reclaim yourself. It's not something where you have to choose to do harm. It's something that is sort of placed on you by society, and you have to show that you are willing to burn your own satisfaction, your own safety, your own whatever in order to get. It's a very advanced form of sovereignty. And I say it's only advanced because we're surrounded by people that are not yet advanced yet. Most of the military is in under ruse consciousness. I need someone who has more violence than I do to tell me what to wear, to tell me how to dress. And when they want to give you a vaccine, you're going to take the vaccine. Probably the most unhealthy thing that could happen to you if you're in that mindset is to come across someone like Cameron. It would be deadly to their immune system to see a psyche functioning on a level like that the same way I was there. I was destroying the military from inside of it by being there. Not because of vaccines, but just because of everything. I signed my name wrong at lunch. Like you, Mary Jo, I've said the exact same words about the vaccine, and I felt the exact same way when they were telling me I wasn't signing my name right. I was just like, what the fuck do you mean I'm not signing my name right? This is a lunch log. What are you talking about? Like, how is that even possible that I'm not signing my name right? How is that even fucking possible? And that's a psyche they wouldn't understand. Could never understand that. They're going to fart in your mouth and laugh. And if you don't laugh too, you don't belong there. And this is what a hyena would do to build brethrenship. It would be necessary for them to push out the foreign object, which would be me in this case. So, in a way, if your parents, I think if we push our parents to the brink of stress, ultimately, Cameron, I think it's because they are ready for it. That they can't handle it themselves, but they want it close enough to where they're forced to take a bite of it first. Where they're going to start. They're going to do the very first thing that's required. They're going to take the first step. And they can't do it themselves, so either I ask the government to do it or I ask my children to do it. It's the same thing, isn't it? Like it really is the same thing ultimately. I've noticed, I could be wrong about this, but I look at how different my brother is and me. We certainly have some similarities, but when I look at it, I just feel that I'm more on my grandfather's side and he's more on my biological father's side. These are different sides of the family totally. And that the need of my biological father to continue some lessons was that was the first thing that came out of my mom's Stargate was my brother, the junior of my senior. And then only then after that could there be my mom's, well, I guess I'll I'll give birth to my father and I'll fucking raise him and really struggle with that. That was what she could maybe afford to do. That was her choice this realm. So she died pro vaccine, pro military. Don't you dare doubt either one of these things. I was sacrilegious son for speaking negatively about my military experience. Sacrilegious for suggesting that maybe Saddam Hussein was a target for other means. The Kuwait is the corner of Greater Israel. I wasn't smart enough then, but I knew something wasn't right. But I also knew how I was disowned by my mom and my brother. And I didn't know I could be disowned then. When I was in my 20s, I didn't know that. I didn't know that I could come home with a belief and be pushed out psychologically, where I'm still allowed to show up, but there's like this weird, we have to shit on him all the time. Like I didn't know that was possible. I didn't know family could even do that. Why? Because I was raised in such a way where I had ignorance of that, and that's good. That would be required for me to get so farther ahead of them so that I could look back at them and show them something that they need, a nutrient that they need more than anything else would be the shame of their own children. That look, what it must have felt like to be my mom and watch me look at her explains a lot. Like like about her behavior towards me. I get the feeling I probably was staring through her like an oracle. It probably hurt so much that that's why we have such a horrible relationship. Exact same thing with you, Cameron. Exact. I'm not trying to say I had a horrible relationship, but just that stress that you saw was exactly the stress that she was willing to take, that she wanted. But you have to trust the underself, right? It's the underself that was like, you need this. I've made a deal underneath the soil with all the other trees, and I'm going to grow an acorn that looks like Cameron. I'm going to grow an acorn that looks like James, and they're going to be right here by me for the rest of eternity, and I'm going to have to fucking stare at them. And they're going to stare at me, and it's going to burn like a bitch. It's going to burn so much, I'm going to hate them. And I'm going to hate them because of the love we have for each other, the trust we have for each other. This is the only avenue we have to exercise hate for each other. Like you can't really do this on the street and be efficient. But if I can have a 6-year hate with you, and that's going to pull probably 3,000 years of epigenetic violence that you don't even remember. You know what I mean? Like it's probably pulling shit like that. Like you don't even see it. You're not watching the dialysis machine. You're just hooked up to it. You're just watching your urinary tract be clean or whatever process you want to think about in this case. You're cleaning old stuff. And that's why it feels like angst. And that's why I think you should be present in it because that angst is going to be everywhere. Like it's nonstop everywhere you look. I get comments from people that are just like, fuck, I don't want to feel this angst right now, but you have to. So now I'm just trying to just be more comfortable with it. I really try and lay down with the angst and just be like, God, this is so angsty. And then just really try and be comfortable with it. I don't want to finish the angst. I don't want to finish. I can hold this. Doesn't have to hurt like this. I think maybe 0.00001% of us are doing that, are loving ourselves enough to know I want to grab that and I want to hold that and I want to just sense that. So we're lamplighters in that way. Like we're building that realm for others to see. And it's working. We just have to be really patient and understand these are 7-year-olds. Pete Hegseth is a 7-year-old. And he's telling a bunch of 6-year-old 4-star generals how to dress every day. And even though they're 30 years older than he is, even though they've been in wars and he hasn't, even though they know how to fire guns and he doesn't, even though they've probably never worn makeup in their face, they're going to sit there and watch his Botox just tell them. And they're just going to take it. They're just going to take it. That's how far we've come. Like, it's huge. You don't know how bad it was. We really don't know how bad it was, you know? And if you look at how bad it is now, there's the closest clue you'll get. Like that's the closest thing that'll happen.
Okay. For all the escalation. And forgive me, guys, my Wi-Fi dropped off. So if this audio is not tenable, then I know there are a few people in here capable of running the moderation for me, so thank you for that if that's necessary. Things always tend to escalate, or they feel like they're escalating. And for a while, I started as 2020, as I told you guys not so long ago. So I probably need to tell the story, but whenever I was at the Thunder game that got canceled, I really felt like, all right, this is enough evidence that what I give my attention to continues to escalate out of my control. Uh, but perhaps that's the sin of solipsism. But again, I'm with you guys on what sin means, missing the mark, and I also believe that this process is about individuation, and that requires all of these variant aspects of ourselves that diverge from our idea of perfect, or form and perfection. I'm getting a little abstract with my terminology.
I think a lot of what we struggle with really comes down to accepting the choices that we do accept. Maybe we're just ashamed of what we accept. And this is why the principle of addiction I wrote, most of the comments I get is, you're secretly trying to make people addicted to drugs. It's like people fucking hate that. Because I'm telling people maybe the reason why you're addicted is because you haven't enjoyed it yet. Like you haven't truly just enjoyed that once yet. You don't feel like you're allowed to enjoy that yet. And maybe you're terrified, not of the drug, not of your inability to say no, but whether or not you deserve to enjoy it. Because if you do truly enjoy to deserve this, then all of this history has to be rewritten. All of this history crashes. Every plate that you've had set up falls to the ground and cracks, and now you have an empty kitchen. And that scares you. But why does it scare you? Like ultimately why? And these are reasons are really, really different, I think. I think a lot of us think divorce is a perfect example. Like Steven Crowder is a popular YouTuber, and he's just fallen so hard. He had a divorce and kind of messed up life. Just has some weird Christian nationalist stuff in there, but also like he's like a multimillionaire. But then apparently he wouldn't let his wife have a car. So like, and then like an argument they had once was released, and then he's really just suffering, really suffering hard. I don't really feel sorry for him. I mean, some of the things he said is very Charlie Kirk-esque. So I'm just more as interesting. But I do feel sorry for him that he thinks divorce is such a failure. I do feel sorry for him because I think what terrified him the most was people finding out that he was getting a divorce. And then he finally came out and admitted he was having a divorce. And then when you listen to the way he said it, he goes, well, first of all, I live in a state that allows it. So there's the problem. He was saying the problem was the state is letting his wife divorce him. And it's because he did not know that divorce is natural. I really think this is it. It never occurred to him that divorce is natural. In his mind, divorce is failure. And if you could see that divorce is growth, then you would understand that most of the people who gave him the idea that divorce is failure are literally trying to say growth is failure. They're actively arguing that growth is failure. They can't come out and say growth is failure. They have to do it this way. They have to manipulate the story to where it makes sense like this. So therefore, anyone is living in sin if you have a divorce. Anyone is fallen for the satanic message because you have a divorce. And that's a satanic message. Walking around thinking that way. Thinking that your wife shouldn't be allowed to divorce you, or that you wish you would have married her in another state. By the way, all these things are natural. These are natural feelings to have. When my wife divorced me, I was like, well, I don't just want to sign a divorce paper right now. Aren't we supposed to like be separated for a year? And their lawyer was like, no, that's not required. That's not necessary. Da, da, da. And I was just like, yeah, but that just seems like an irrational decision. I don't know why we have to get divorced right now. I don't want to see her, but I fucking got married. I This fucking sucks. And I remember being mad that this was allowed. I remember being mad. I remember I didn't know that was an option. because I thought that I was marrying someone that didn't really that wouldn't look at it that way. That would have heard me say, "Hey, look, I waited till my 40s to get married because I didn't want to. I don't want to get divorced. I don't want to get divorced." I'd never been given a gift of seeing that this is positive. And no one ever showed me that. I try and accent my divorce in this way as much as possible because I just hope someone will see that and go, wow, yeah, it's like you come here and you pick the one that you love the most and you say, hey, will you cut my heart out? I want to see if I can rebuild myself. And you look around, you find someone who will have a sacred ritual with you where you both get naked and you both share your genitals because you're creating the necessary bond to perfect this divorce. You'd have to do it that way. And this is why divorce really has very little to do with kids. The man still has to grow. The woman still has to grow. And we're only just telling our kids, well, that'd be much better when it's just like, here's what marriage is. Here's what divorce is. The reason why more than half the people are getting divorced is because, sadly, only half the people probably have enough bravery to say, all right, do it. All right, cut this bitch out. Let's see what happens. Like to really open their chest up and say, let's do this. My ignorance, had I known this would have happened, I never would have gotten married. Had I known this happened and I never would have got married, I never would have written a book. I don't think I would have written a book. I don't think I would have. I think I'd be programming for a pharma company, be writing web pages with a bunch of legal jargon. I think that's what I'd be doing. And I'd be miserable. Probably be a white Christian nationalist. Maybe. I don't know. I'd either be one of those or I'd be the other one that's like, oh, you have hate in your heart? Well, that's too bad. I don't have hate in my heart because I'm on the anti-hate co-op. I'd be one of those. And I'd have lots of friends. And I'd have a fridge full of fucking beer. Just fermented hops. Just sitting in the refrigerator. Just like, oh yeah, thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Here, let me help you move that couch. I feel so fulfilled. Like it's like I hurt people when I'm around them like that. I get so upset. Navy fucking hated me for that because I was just always on watch. I was just like, isn't this stupid? Like, fuck, man, why the fuck can't I read my sonar book while I'm on watch? Like, I don't understand why shouldn't I be like rewarded for that? Like, shouldn't we be like rewarded for that? Like, I'm sitting here fucking staring at a fire extinguisher. There's nothing else to fucking do. My brain cells are dying right now. Don't you guys hear me? And none of them heard me. Not a fucking one of them heard me. None of them heard me. Could not fathom that I was uncomfortable. Are you kidding? This is the fucking life, man. Here, I'm going to fart again. Wasn't that funny? And it's just like, I'm about to rip people's heads off. If I would have stayed, I would have committed crimes. I would have done it because I could not have survived in that way. There's no fucking way I could have made it. And that's just like kids play to a 4-year-old. It's like dream job. Fart jokes and you tell me what underwear to wear. You're going to wash my clothes. You're going to give me a commissary. You're going to give me 3 meals a day. You're going to tell me what to do. You're going to punish me if I don't do it right. Sign me the fuck up, you know? That's where we are. And Nazis is that. Fascism is that. It's children that need that structure. Isn't that what it is? Children that need the structure, or more importantly, grown children that are afraid of others not having that structure. You see one person with blue hair and you just flip the fuck out, you know? No different than seeing a witch. I saw a witch yesterday. We have to assemble. We must assemble right now. You know, so witches isn't going away. We have an advantage because we get to look through history. We get to find archetypes like this, symbols that keep coming up, and then we get to look at them next time. So the old symbol of the witch is never about the past. It's always about here's what's going to happen next, just like bread and circus, just like Rome, just like even the story of Nero. If you read the story of Nero, Nero started off as, I really need everyone to like me. This is the most natural, good feeling you could have. And you would think that that would make you a better emperor than anything else. And that guy having that, I really need people to like me, like, did so much fucking damage. And what is Trump? Like, it might look like he doesn't want you to like him, but he wants you to respect him. He wants you to see him as something that he's not. He wants you to picture him. I don't mean to be crude, but seriously, he wants you to picture that he's got a really long dong. You have to picture that. And I will fucking fire you if I catch you not doing that, not being a Marco Rubio and just doubling down, not being like, look at what JD Vance is. Look at that guy. You're the leader of the world, of the free world. And you decide that the person that needs to be there at all times to replace you is JD Vance. Like, I don't know what, I cannot imagine a better cipher into that 4-year-old mind than that. Sarah's got her hand up. Good.
That's right, Sarah. Thank you for raising your hand again. Please unmute. Go ahead.
Oh, wait, I'm in the middle of the end of breakfast, chewing a Brazil nut. Thinking about the idea of when James is talking about divorce, and now I'm losing my train of thought. What was he saying? It's not wanting to everything was based not only not wanting you to like having a brain
To not being able to
freeze.
look
What
at
was
divorce as
his expression? It's your expression.
or not being able to look at divorce as a positive.
It's people saying as telling people that you not wanting you to grow. That was it. So it's not only others saying not wanting you to grow, but it's how dare you be honest? How dare you be true to yourself? To acknowledge publicly that this relationship has lost its connection and you've lost the growth within it. But you should just continue and put on a facade. It's good for the family. It's better for the community to see you as married. So it's really saying all of these things. You can't grow. You can't be honest to yourself. And then the whole thing of, oh, this it's legal in this state, which is gets you into the whole area of why do you need a license and the permission from the state to get married? I'm not saying don't get married in that way, but there are ways of common law. But that is what's happening also is you're having a triangular relationship between the man, the woman, or at this point, they, them, whoever, and the state.
Yeah.
Um,
Training wheels.
and that's giving consent to that whole, I need a license to have this relationship and all these things that you need a license. And then I think of, well, you don't need a license to have children. And not that you should, but in terms of what has more consequences if you do not have the ability and knowledge. I always think of, oh, we have driver's ed in school. I don't know if they still do, but not childhood development and psychology of how do you raise a child? What stages are they going to go through? What do you need to know to be a parent? And part of that is self-knowledge also, but all of the superficial things we learn and the superficial things we need a license for, but rarely for things that have real consequences.
Yeah, I think it shows even more just how premature, in a healthy way, but just how premature consciousness truly is. That we still are in the sense of, I need someone to back this up. I need a witness from the state. I need justification for a law. These how can see one of the biggest problems with objectivity. I still can't believe we keep falling for this, but most of the people who believe in politics believe that there is a one child psychology that should be implemented by all, and that this is what you do. And if you if you're raising someone like my brother who really enjoys the structure, or really enjoyed the structure of the military. Maybe that's not even fair for him. Maybe he's sort of out of that now, but my uncle would be one that in his when he died and I opened his drawers in his house, all of his clothes were folded like little envelopes like you would do in the army. And he thrived on that. So the psychology for raising Sam, my uncle Sam, the irony is hilarious, but my uncle Sam, the irony of raising him was a very different psychology than how you would raise me. In fact, the only way you would raise me properly is you would need to raise a lot of me improperly, so that people like me would then have children and they would need to tell people about something. I'm just guessing here, but like autism. And that now we have something called autism, but really what we're doing is just trying to break through the realm of objectivity to separate this fucking idea that everything has to fit within a single psychology or a single solution. But we can't accept that yet. So instead, we have to make excuses. We have to grant religious excuses for having a different psychology, medical excuses for having a different psychology. And that only under those guises can we practice non objectivity, but only within a very, very milky facade that still looks like objectivity. We just have to call half these people retarded or autistic or whatever else it is. And ultimately, that's progress. As much as retard is a word that's horrible now, I don't know if you guys realize how profound it is that we discovered that there was even something called retarded. This is like a big, big move. It's a big structural move for the community to make, to say there are people among us that are retarded. That's huge. It broke through a barrier. But that barrier seems to, as future gets moves itself along, we seem to be clinging more to objectivity, not less. Most of us are clinging to, do I have enough people on my side? It disgusts me to know how many people miss my shows simply because I don't have enough numbers. It's probably one of the main reasons why I even focus on numbers. Is just I just think, fuck, I could be pollinating more if I could be allowed to say what I do and have that number 4 be a 1-4. Like if you could just put the number 1 in front of it, I think dramatically anyone watching the video would have a completely different perspective on it. And all it took was just the number 1 placed in front of the 4. So it's not 4,000 hits, it's 14,000 hits. Now someone's like, well, fuck, this must be worth listening to. And then you come and listen to it. But even then I realized, but James, that wouldn't work either. That wouldn't fucking work. If I did that, then none of us would be able to learn anything, because the group itself would lower the dynamic to eliminate the ability to even have that stuff, because it'd have to be, well, how do we keep the pluralist numbers? Got to get your numbers up, James. Got to get your numbers up. This is what haunts me every day, where I'm like, should I be doing this? Renee's probably sick of this, but it's like, that's probably the one thing I'm just like always complaining about. It's just like, I don't know if Gaia wants me to do this. I don't know if Gaia wants me to fucking do this. Because when something like this happens, I know if I put out a video, maybe 300 people will see it. Put out a live stream, a lot more. But it's like, and then even when I try and I stay up all night to make the video and I get it just short, all the first comment I get is, I don't understand you. What do you mean? And I'm just, I don't know what they mean. I don't know, because I'm not supposed to do this. I'm not supposed to wake up the world. And when I look at why this makes me feel bad, it's because I don't feel important. It's a selfish reason. I've masked it in the idea I have to save the world. But I know deep down the world's perfect. The world doesn't need me to save it. So I should fucking relax. But I don't want to relax because I have years of angst and injustice to work out. I want to be able to recreate the trauma that occurred to me earlier so that I can apply a better solution to it. I'm looking for the red pheasants like this. This is a big one. This is a wonderful opportunity. Even for the ICE officers, it's a wonderful opportunity. Like, it's for everyone. There's a strong belief on the street that if you do not have papers, you are illegal and you do not belong here. So strong, some of you guys might feel that way. Forgive me for being so. You have to think the way I do.
Recording in progress.
I've never been able to understand where that came from, where who put it in my head, who put it in everyone else's head, because I was never born with that idea. I can't think of one time growing up where I thought that was how it worked. Not once. I remember realizing, wait, you need a passport to go somewhere? I remember being really surprised by that. And when you look at what's here now, none of that's true. Most of it is the opposite. Well, of course you would need papers to be here. And then I asked them, can you show me in the Constitution where it says that? It's not there. It's not there. It doesn't say it at all. In fact, it kind of says in the Constitution you can't do that. It kind of says that. Like I could argue that it actually doesn't say that. But then we're getting into where one of the worst things that can happen is you've got someone that's arguing, well, the reason why I'm able to do this is because the Constitution says so. That's not why you're able to do this. You're able to do this because you have the spine to do it. And your spine is so strong, someone else is going to give you the offload, the off ramp to say, well, it's because the Constitution. Fuckers got us on the Constitution. That's all. Because the cop doesn't want to give you that power. We can't have a society where we're like rating each other's fucking spines. We can't do that. We have to make excuses. And this is because Article 6, 7, and Timms versus Cassandra, Supreme Court case 96472. That's not a real one, but it's like, Mims versus Pennsylvania. That's a good one. And that this is where we get our spine. Well, I know Mims versus Pennsylvania. And then the cop goes, well, we're not living in Pennsylvania. Then you're just like, douchebag, that's a Supreme Court case. It's like, well, we're not the Supreme Court. Then you're like, wait a minute, you didn't go to school where I did? Now you know why we have public school. Yeah, public school because you're hoping that enough people will hear about the Bill of Rights so people can excuse why you have such a better spine than me. And if you didn't have Bill of Rights, they probably have to shoot you because it'd be like, well, fuck, this guy's just really charismatic. Bam, bam, bam. And instead, it's just like, well, fuck, he's got the law on his side. I can't blame him. I have to blame the law. Fucking law. We need to vote some more Republicans in here because this blue hair's telling me that I can't fucking tell him to get the fuck off of here. And that if it wasn't for the laws, you wouldn't have that buffer. You'd have to do it man to man, and we'd be dueling, and I would have died a long time ago. I would have someone would have challenged me a duel when I was fucking 5 in the grocery store, and because I just started mouthing off, and I would have been dead then, because I would have taken them on. I would have been like, sure, how does this? And my head would be off because I'm asking them questions about what's the best way to do this. And did that hurt? I didn't hurt you, did you? It's my first fist fight. Hit a guy in the shoulder, and I'm just like, are you okay? Boom, just nailed me like a bitch, put me right on the ground. Because I am not equipped for those things. I am the living soil of the red veal. Like my softness is a luxury. It is a feature. My ignorance, my softness, my ability to run my mouth. And thank God we have the environment where I'm able to perpetuate myself. Because it's the only way I'd survive. My brother would have snapped my neck at 8. I guarantee you he would have done that. It's only because of the society that's been built where stuff like that didn't happen.
Yes.
You mentioned, oh, go ahead, Sarah. Yeah, please. I saw that your hand was still raised. Go ahead.
On purpose. Yes. In terms of I see, James, how you can get focused on your numbers. There are also hidden numbers. Each of us, well, I think myself for sure, are pollinating. Some of your ideas become part of our own vocabulary. For example, for me, the your concept of ego is good. I share this a lot because there's so much pushback against ego, whatever you listen to and in conversations. And I'll share your video. I share the concept if it's one-on-one. So there are hidden numbers too, even if you don't have the views. Much of us here are out there pollinating your ideas. Um, Two, passports and signatures. Last time, I think last year, the year before, I got my passport renewed because I don't want to do the real ID, of course, as my contrarian conspiracy self. Um, and at some point, I stopped signing my name the same all the time. I just kind of do this scribble and a different scribble, and I'm just like, fuck it, I'm not going to have an official signature anymore. And I did that for my passport, and they noticed the difference, and I had to sign a separate form saying that my signature changed. One more thing I wanted to throw out there. I just caught the end of this morning's video because they just start too early. I can't go online and watch the screen or listen to anything that early on my time zone. Um, Goldfinch are, and I hear a lot of the Jews and the Jews and yeah, and no, I do not go along with what Israel is doing. And when I lived there, I knew a man that he might have been one of the main organizers in a group then. This was in the 80s called Shalom Akshav, Peace Now, which was a group of Israelis there fighting against the occupation and the treatment of Palestinians. So we're not all goldfinches. I'm not a goldfinch, and yeah, and I live in this community still on the premises, and I am not in alignment with the religious beliefs at all. I think I've said before, I refer to myself as the on-site holy heretic. Um, but they haven't kicked me out. I'm still here. It's cheap rent, and um, while I ditched the religion, I realized that as a community, it functions really well. People do watch out and take care of each other, as in any tribe.
Mhm.
Uh,
Can
so,
I ask you honestly, if you don't mind, um, what is your reaction when I call them the Benjamites?
um, the who are you calling them? All of like I have problems when
The
any.
political power that's occupying Israel, that's implementing the Palestinian genocide, and Bibi would be probably the leader of the Benjamites.
Yeah, so where did you get the term Benjamites? Because my understanding of what happened to the tribes is that all of the tribes um, of what were originally the Israelites were dispersed everywhere, that the tribe that became what we refer to as the Jews, along with converts along the way, whether forced or willing, was the tribe of Judah. Thus the name Jews comes from Judah.
Hmm.
And that the tribe of Judah and the rest of the Israelites did not get along. And I wonder if um, the other tribes which were dispersed, Europe, Scotland, throughout Europe, um, that did not become Jews, became assimilated in whatever cultures
Hmm.
where they went, if some of this tension of Jewish and Zionist and the rest of and other populations is rooted in this original conflict between the tribe of Judah and the other rest of the tribes.
Yeah, I would say that if you look at Jewish history, the northern Judites were a different sect, and then the ones that stayed were the Benjamites.
Yes,
And
and today
and
can
that
only.
ultimately the ones that stayed were also the ones that were considered more problematic, more rebellious. That's actually part of why they stayed. They were able to endure these things.
Mhm.
The northern tribe of Judah was much more integrated, which is technically why they're sort of lost. I use that in quotes because a lot of the tribe of Judah came back and joined the Benjamites, but ultimately, most of it's lost. You're just looking at the fingerprints of these things, and that it seems like the Benjamites are the ones that are really showcasing their personal tribal feelings about what Judaism is. So that's why I call them the Benjamites.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking of how Jews will like to trace their what tribe they're from, but
Mm.
nobody knows because they're all lost except for those that are the Kohanim, the priestly class, and the
Mm.
Levites. Everyone else is simply called like Israelites, if that. That people don't really individually know their tribe. And
Well, there's a lot of Benjamites that do say that they are Benjamites and
so
do
I'm not,
really,
it's all new to
yeah,
me.
they
So
really do associate with that. A lot of hereditary stuff has actually been done too on this, where I'm just saying this is where they're pulling their information from and saying that hereditarily speaking, it does seem that there's this southern tribe and this northern tribe. And that although while they did mix some, that most of the disbursement was happening between those two, and that the southern tribe is really the only one that kind of remained as a stronghold. And this is causing most of the tension that really gave birth to Islam too. Is you're looking at a powder keg that's trying to worship a central area. The Temple Mount is a pretty powerful rock. A lot of jizz has gone into that stone. A lot of ancient religions have been worshiping that stone. Judaism is just one of them. So it would make sense that there would be three different sects, if not four or five, of very different religions that are all centralized in that central area, just because it's sort of a we're here first kind of a thing. So just as there's a desire to create a foothold, so too is their desire to find a better home. That both those are sort of different personalities, kind of like how an East Coast would sort of be a Benjamite, while the Californian would be more of a tribe of Judah kind of personality. It's in the same family, but the geography kind of changed them. The texture, the terrain of the space and what they chose to do was sort of reflected in their personality, and then you kind of end up with what we have now. I'm not saying that I know all this. I just
I don't either.
I just read a lot, and I just find it fascinating. And I've just secretly wondered, Sarah, if that offends you. In my mind, it makes it cleaner. For me to call that the Benjamites, I think makes it cleaner. And I've just secretly been wondering if you agreed or not. So that's why I just figured I'd ask.
I wasn't familiar with that category of Benjamites until then, and I'm open to learning more about it.
Thank you, James, for posing that question, and Sarah for answering that. I really appreciate hearing from both of you on that topic. Um, we are 5 minutes now over the limit, although we started a little late, so I think we're just right about on time. It's been a wonderful conversation today, and especially as James just mentioned, right here as closing about the Benjamites being the most rebellious or almost too rebellious. It's always a fascinating thing to ponder. Whenever I first met James through Owen Benjamin, he also was talking to another person named E. Michael Jones, who is very unapologetic about who he thinks the problem is. And that's what he always says, is that the problem is rebelling against the logos. And more interesting things to ponder, because the rebel nature in me is just one of the more precious aspects. And it's just trying to find balance, and all this stuff is wonderful. And thank you everyone for allowing me to moderate today, and really good to see everybody. James, I hope you have a wonderful time this Saturday, and I'll be thinking of you and everyone here, and wishing everybody the best.
Yeah, guys, have a great time. Everyone can unmute and let's say goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a beautiful weekend.